Whiskers up and go!
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ-HD, Millville, Atlantic City. This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Now, Sports Bash Saturday. Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here, live in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios on 97.3 ESPN. Got a busy show ahead of us for you here on 97.3 ESPN. We got Phillies breaking news. We got to talk about the Eagles as well. Also, we got to talk Sixers, Flyers. So much to get to, 2 hours to do it. You can watch the show right now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. 97.3 ESPN to watch the show live here on 97.3 ESPN. Kevin Durso, our Flyers Insider, will join us coming up at 12:20 to get more into the Flyers about who is playing, who is not playing tonight. There's some conjecture for some serious line changes for tonight's game. Plus, we have Brandon Scoop B. Robinson, NBA Insider, joining us coming up at 12:20 to get into the Sixers and the NBA. Of course, your text as well at 609-403-0973. And you can comment on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter when you're watching the show right here. Also, if you're looking for the Atlantic City versus Pleasantville High School basketball game, Mike Gill, Mike Frankel on the call. Just go to our website, 973ESPN.com, to check that out. But the news that was breaking right before I came on the show today was Gregorius is re-signing with the Philadelphia Phillies. Yes, Gregorius is back with the Phillies, and it's not a one-year deal. It's a 2-year deal worth $28 million, according to multiple reports. Now, the one thing I'm still trying to figure out is there is one report out there that says that this deal is involving deferred money. So I'm assuming, and again, assuming that this is probably similar to the JT Realmuto situation where he's not going to get all the money up front. They're pushing some of the money back in the contract so they can fiscally get through the current year. Again, that's just an assumption on my part. A little bit of other news to go along with this. We'll add this into the queue. I just got to go find it again. The Phillies are making a trade as well. They had to clear up the roster spots. So in a corresponding move, Cole Irvin is being traded to the Oakland A's. So it's a little bit of interesting added on news right there. So the Phillies are also trading Cole Irvin. So it looks like that the Philadelphia Phillies are not just bringing in pitchers, but they're moving on from pitchers. So again, Phillies are re-signing Gregorius, and in a corresponding move, they are trading Cole Irvin. So it looks like the roster is shaping up. They brought in Matt Moore the other day. So some news popping off here with the Philadelphia Phillies. So we got it all here on 97.3 ESPN. As I've said before we get to the Eagles, Flyers, and Sixers stuff, I've said it a couple times this week. Signing JT Realmuto and re-signing Gregorius may not win you the division this year, but it's a sign to the rest of the league how serious you are about winning as a general principle. The Phillies have to show their fans, their players, and the rest of baseball that they are serious about winning. And it starts with re-signing your players. It starts with making a genuine commitment to the guys who are already on your team. Gregorius was arguably your best hitter last year. He was your leader in RBI production. He was a consistent bat game in and game out. And now you bring him back for a 2-year deal. So you're not just committed to him for 1 year, committed him for 2 years. I mean, if this doesn't scream Dave Dombrowski, I don't know what does, right? I mean, Dave Dombrowski's coming in here and saying, look, We're trying to work toward a winning team. Now, the reports are that the Phillies will receive a player to be named later or cash for Cole Irvin. The move of trading Cole Irvin is because they had to open up roster spots on the 40-man roster because of signing Matt Moore and re-signing Didi Gregorius. So at least you know exactly why this is all going on. Still a big deal. Still big news. The Phillies re-signing. And as I said, the Phillies may not win this year. All right, don't get it twisted. Don't overthink this. The Phillies may not win a division this year. But you got to make moves like this if you're serious about winning long term. Long term, the Phillies have to figure out how serious they are about winning at all. And if Dave Dombrowski is to be believed that they're trying to win and they're trying to win now, these are the kind of moves you have to make. You got to re-sign Gregorius. You got to move on from the failed project that is Cole Irvin. He had one good game, basically? I mean, good grief. You re-signed JT Realmuto this week. You got a lot of moving parts. There's a lot to get to on those fronts. Again, 609-403-0973 is the text board, 609-403-0973 to get on the conversation right here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, we will be joined at 12:20 by our own Kevin Durso from 97.3 ESPN. The Flyers back in action tonight. You hear all the coverage right here on 97.3 ESPN. Also, you watch the show on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Sports Bash Saturday here on 97.3 ESPN. Also, Brandon Scoopy Robinson will join us coming up at 1:20 p.m. today to get more into the Sixers and the NBA. But I remiss if I didn't jump back onto the conversation that Billy Schwein was having about the Philadelphia Eagles. Because the Eagles, it's just ridiculous what's going on with this Eagles team and how people are trying to portray this. And I had somebody, say this to me on Twitter. And listen, I'm not anti this comment, all right? Someone said to me on Twitter that, Bill Belichick. What about Bill Belichick? Well, Bill Belichick would never tell you who the starter was. Well, maybe not. See, people are trying to make excuses already for this head coach. People are already trying to make excuses and rationalize all this stuff. To which I say, I'm sorry, I can't vibe with you. I can't get on board with that. I can't sit here and in a good conscience sit here and say, oh, well, poor Nick Sirianni. I'm sorry, I can't do that because on one hand, yes, I understand the guy is brand new. I understand that the guy has only been here for so long. But when you sit there and say certain things, we got to criticize it. We got to condemn it. Here's what was said to me on Twitter. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, someone said to me, Sirianni's been coach for less than a week, and you expect him to name a starting quarterback or even give a hint? He gave the right answer. Go ask Belichick who his quarterback will be next September. But see, the difference is that Belichick is going to get up there and say, we're still evaluating the process. He's going to just give a similar answer, except he's not going to say this.
Many different things that we talked about, players, positions, coaching staff, it was all on the table. And as far as the starter, haven't really thought about that yet. And naming a starter, that hasn't even crossed my mind. Again, just trying to evaluate the players.
Haven't even thought about it. You can't say you haven't even thought about it. There is one person on planet Earth who has not thought about the Eagles head coaching job, and it's Nick Sirianni. See, I'm not expecting him to name the starting quarterback. I'm expecting him to not say, I haven't even thought about it. He didn't give the right answer. Belichick would never be disingenuous and say, I don't know, or I'm not giving that an answer, or I'm not telling you, or anything like that. Belichick would never, ever, ever say that. Belichick would say, next question, and we're moving on to Cincinnati or something like that. Sirianni was left out there to be manhandled by the media. Sirianni was left out there in the cold by his owner, who had a 20-minute diatribe, and his general manager, who was nowhere to be found on the day of the introductory press conference of the head coach. He's left out there to take all the bullets. I feel like I'm getting deja vu with Brett Brown. Remember Brett Brown for all those years with the Sixers? How many times was it we never heard from Sam Hinkie? We never heard from Brian Colangelo. And here's Brett Brown answering every question for the franchise. That was Nick Sirianni yesterday. Sirianni's up there. The owner doesn't take questions. The general manager's nowhere to be found. But Sirianni is sitting here having to answer these questions by himself. Questions that, frankly, he shouldn't have to answer in the way that he had to answer it. There's nothing wrong with asking those questions. There's something very wrong with the answers he gave when he's standing up there in a room by himself, looking at a screen and trying not to be nervous and sweat all over the place. I don't blame him for his answers. I blame the situation that he was put in. And by the way, he did say some good things. He did say some very interesting things. It wasn't all bad. See, the problem is there's no in between with people. It's either all bad or all good. So I do want to give Sirianni a little credit. I did get on him a lot yesterday on game night. And I'm still not going to let up on that whole, I haven't thought about who the starting quarterback is. But there were some good things that he said. Like, I really liked what he had to say about new Eagles defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon. Jonathan Gannon, the defensive backs coach with the Colts. He's worked also under Mike Zimmer with the Vikings. Gannon was a hot commodity around the league. The Bears and the Chargers were both reportedly interested in him to be their DC, but Gannon came with Sirianni to Philadelphia.
His football IQ is off the charts. When I want to know something about a defense, all right, for the last 3 years, if I wanted to know something about a defense, he's the first one I've went to. He's the first one I've went to every single time. Hey, tell me how they're doing this. His football IQ is off the charts. His players play well for him. All right, his players love him, and his energy is contagious. He loves football. He loves being around football. He loves being on the practice field. He loves being in the meeting room. Tireless worker that I truly believe in.
I like what that had to say. See, it wasn't all bad yesterday. He did say some good things yesterday. I like what he said about the defensive coordinator. How about the offensive coordinator, Shane Steichen? Shane Steichen been around the NFL for 10 years. He's the new offensive coordinator.
I know Shane thinks about the game the way I think about the game. And Shane is a phenomenal offensive mind that thinks about the game like the way I do. And it's almost like with Shane and I, and Shane's done a great job. His resume speaks for itself. He's always gotten the best out of his quarterbacks. Did a great job with Phillip Rivers. Did a great job with Justin Herbert this year. So obviously Shane and I have communicated with each other through this past year of bouncing ideas off of each other.
All right, fine. You know, some good stuff there about the coordinators. So it wasn't all bad with the press conference yesterday, but there were just some real eye-opening sore spots, right? There were still some eye-opening sore spots with the team. Josh Hennig here, Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN, live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at 973 ESPN. Live here in the Matt Black Kia Studios on 97.3 ESPN. With your text a little bit later in the show, 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. I want to remind everybody about the breaking news that popped off at the top of the hour. The Phillies are re-signing Didi Gregorius to a 2-year, $28 million contract. In a corresponding move, they're also trading Cole Irvin to the Oakland A's to open up a spot on the roster. So Phillies making some moves. Eagles are in the news. But coming up next, we got to talk some Flyers. Could we see some changes to the defensive pairings and the lines tonight versus the Islanders for the Flyers? Kevin Durso, our 97.3 ESPN.com Flyers Insider, joins us next here on Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
It's Sixers basketball tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Simmons with the ball, kicks in the corner, three ball. Seth Curry puts it up and in. Trifecta. Benny with the dish, Curry with a hit.
The Sixers are in Indiana to face the Pacers. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
Are you tired of car dealer ads that boast about deals that sound too good to be true just to find out they can't live up to the promise? That's why we've been saying for so many years that it's worth it to take the short drive to Woodbine. At Gentilini Ford, we've built a reputation for taking care of our community and treating customers like family for 65 years with the best deals, real value, and no empty promises. I'm Paul Gentilini, and I assure you no other dealer in South Jersey beats our deals. We've been built Ford proud since 1955 as South Jersey's longest-standing Ford dealer for a reason. So check us out to experience the Gentilini difference. Give us a call at 609-861-0100. Visit us online at Gentiliniford.com or stop by today at 555 John S. Penn Boulevard next to the airport in Woodbine, New Jersey. We're just a short drive from anywhere.
Just a short drive from anywhere. Gentilini Family Motors.
Hey guys, are you afraid of taking off your shirt in public? Don't be embarrassed. Just say, I love Lyle back instead with male breast reduction. Many men develop a fullness in their chest as boys that persists and even worsens as they get older. This condition is called gynecomastia, and with simple liposuction, most cases can be effectively treated. Call 856-MAKEOVER today to schedule your private consultation with Dr. Lyle and Back. That's 856-MAKEOVER or visit iloveLyleback.com.
Pros bring something extra to every job. Now at the Home Depot, they also get something extra. Pro Extra, our free loyalty program built for pros just like you. Members earn perks with every dollar spent, like Pro Extra Dollars, a tool rental credit, and more. New members get $20 off their next in-store purchase of $200 or more just for signing up. Learn more at homedepot.com/Pro Extra. New year, more rewards, Pro Extra, only at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
Guys, you know that new Untucked shirt you've been eyeing? Well, now's your chance to save big on all your favorites with the sale happening right now at Untucked.com and at Untucked's 80-plus stores for a limited time only. Untucked shirts are designed to be worn untucked. They're the easy-to-wear styles that every guy loves and the perfect way to feel comfortable and look sharp. Don't miss your chance to save big on these top styles for the season with the sale happening right now at Untucked.com. Untucked, shirts designed to be worn untucked.
You have the choice, whether it's going out for dinner or ordering takeout at a local restaurant or buying that new outfit from a local boutique. Those choices help to put money back into your community. And Town Square Media South Jersey puts a spotlight on local businesses.
First Bank of Sea Isle City, Cape May County's community bank.
Dr. Lyle M. Back for everything from skincare to cosmetic surgery. Go to iloveLyleback.com.
Egg Harbor independent branch leader at Charles Schwab in the Consumer Square Shopping Plaza.
Filling Marble and Tile Outlet, Philadelphia Avenue and Route 30 in Egg Harbor City. FillingMarble.com.
Intuitive Women's Health in Summers Point, accepting new patients. Schedule an appointment today at intuitivewomenshealth.net.
East Coast Roofing, Siding, and Windows services all of South Jersey. If you call, they'll show up. Call East Coast today at 609-646-1444. Online at eastcoastroofing.com.
Thank you for supporting your local businesses. From Town Square Media, South Jersey.
This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, the text board is open, 609-403-097. Good to your comments with the Phillies re-signing Gregorius just a little bit later in the hour. Also, forget Flyers back in action tonight on 97.3 ESPN. Joining us right now on the Boardwalk Kind of Hotline and live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, the one and only Kevin Durso, our Flyers Insider. Kevin, I think we have something to talk about because there's a possibility to see some changes in the lines tonight.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. I think that there's several different things that are going on that we don't completely have confirmation on because Alain Vigneault and the players did not speak to the media this morning. They're speaking at around 4:15, 4:45 in the afternoon. AV's time is 4:45, so we'll kind of get some more confirmation. But Travis Konechny was with the extras today, and that's pretty significant that he's the guy who might come out of the lineup. It appears he has been benched for tonight's game as a healthy scratch. Sam Moran was presumably part of the line rushes for the team in practice this morning. He was the guy who led the stretches at the end of the practice, which is usually an indication of something that they put somebody in the spotlight for something, kind of to recognize something about a guy either coming back from an injury or something of that sort. So it looks like Sam Moran's going to get into a game. That doesn't really surprise me at all because, first of all, you look at the opponent for the weekend, and it's the New York Islanders who really pushed the Flyers around in that playoff series from a physical standpoint. So you get a guy with size in there. That's not a surprise. But I think the surprising part is that Alain Vigneault hasn't pulled any, he's not holding back the punches here when it comes to sending the message that he has to send, which is a significant player from your top six, a guy who led your team in scoring last year and a guy who was off to that kind of start this year. He's among one of the leaders anyway. He's not right at the top in points, but he's right there. Is coming out of your lineup against a really tough opponent. So I think that sends a huge message. As for the rest of the lineup, again, not really sure exactly what they're leaning towards with this, but Phil Myers did take his line rushes with Travis Sanheim, who has been his usual partner. That's possibly an indication he's ready to return from his injury. Now, that would be great news all around because that's if he's able to go and he's coming back into the lineup, that's not a surprising move if he's ready to go. So that could be some reinforcements coming much sooner than expected, I would say. So that's good. That's a good sign, but you never know because the other pairings, I think Eric Gustafson was still with Justin Braun this time. Robert Haig was still among the extras. Nate Prosser, who had a really strong game on Thursday for not playing in the NHL for 2 years, was back out with the extras, it looked like. So it was kind of surprising. I mean, if Myers is ready, then I understand why Prosser's the guy who probably comes out of the lineup. But Prosser gave you everything you wanted to and more because he scored a goal. And, I don't know, unless Myers is absolutely ready to go, which would be the indication for now. We'll find out more later, but would be the indication for now. Then I understand why they're doing that. And it seems like the defensive pairings could look about as normal as they have all season.
Now, can we go back to Konechny for a minute? Because I think most people would be like, why are you taking one of your best forwards, one of your best scoring options out of the lineup? What goes into a decision like that? Is that purely because, is it a message? Is it, listen, you need to go a day off? What goes into stuff like that for a hockey player? Because in other sports, there's really no such thing as a healthy scratch. Either you're playing or you're resting in other sports. Whereas hockey, it feels like it's like a different vibe.
Yeah, I know what you're saying with that too, because in the NBA you address a full lineup, and sometimes a guy doesn't make it in because and they call it a coach's decision that the guy just didn't play that night or something like that. I get it. Everybody who's dressed in a game in the NHL has a responsibility to be at their best because they will play at some point. There's no, even in the NFL, you've got guys who maybe go out there and play a couple of certain situations. You got guys who are strictly special teams guys, and when they have to play in that role, you lean on them to do that to be part of that role and play that role as well as they can. So to me, this is about giving it your all in every situation, knowing, and I think that the more significant thing is, look, you could dress the lineup the way that you think you should. And sure, the Flyers are a better team when Travis Konechny is in the lineup. That's just a fact. It's on paper, his statistics over the years, they're a better team when he plays. But if he's not giving them what they're expecting in whatever way, and sometimes he's not scoring. One of the things that I've seen brought up is he had only 2 shots on goal in the last 3 games. Well, when you're struggling to get shots on goal and you want the team to shoot more, and it certainly seemed like that was a message coming out of the second period on Thursday, start taking more shots, then you might look at him and say, you're not giving me what I want from you. You're not creating the right way. You're trying to make a perfect play when we need a shot on goal, something like that. Maybe it's a defensive thing. Maybe it's, I talked a lot with you and with the other guys on the Sports Bash about the responsibility that the forwards have to help their defensemen too, to be back on the play, maybe help them make a simpler play so you get a better rush. If he's not doing that either, he becomes the subject of some criticism and some, can certainly be, in the eyes of the coaching staff, a guy who deserves to come out of the lineup in that sense. I don't understand why it's him specifically, because I think you could point to a lot of guys who do that, but he is a smaller forward. He is a guy who could get pushed around in a heavy lineup like the Islanders have. And, I think it also goes back to a little bit, and maybe this is a little bit of a mixed bag of what you could get with this, because on one hand, you're maybe playing the card where you go, he wasn't scoring in the playoffs last year, and this is one of the teams that handled you in the playoffs. But on the other hand, wouldn't you be eager to go out and show that you can score against this team and be better against this team? Because you've been waiting, this has probably been one of the biggest circled matchups on the schedule so far, to get this rematch against the team that knocked you out of the playoffs. And now he's not going to be part of that, at least for the first game tonight. Maybe he's back for the second one tomorrow, and that's all that needs to be said about the message being sent. But who knows? I mean, it's really interesting. But these are the things that coaches would think about. They try to think about the matchups. They try to think about the way a player is played. It was kind of interesting too, that Thursday game the other night against the Devils. He wasn't seen as much as some of the other lines were. We were starting to see the fourth line a lot. We were seeing Scott Lawton a lot. We were seeing Joel Farabee a lot in the third period down the stretch when the minutes really, really start to matter. And we were not seeing guys like Travis Konechny. And I think that now we know the reason why. It's something that goes deeper than just being able to score goals. It's the way that you play the game. And I think that this is a wake-up call for anybody in the top six, not just Travis Konechny. It's anybody in the top six. If you don't play the way that you should, and even if you're healthy, it doesn't guarantee you playing time. So they need to take that into consideration and come out and play a really strong game against a team that had their number in the playoffs last year.
Kevin Durso joining us here on Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN, at Kevin_Durso on Twitter for all your Flyers and NHL coverage. Flyers versus the Islanders tonight at 7 o'clock on 97.3 ESPN. Let's get into that other name that's involved, Sam Morin. Why is he a forward? He used to be a defenseman. Why would he get the slot over Konechny if he's a healthy scratch? I feel like there's a lot of questions around the whole Sam Morin situation.
Yeah, I'm sure there are. And, the move to forward, we kind of were looking at it on the surface and scratching our heads a little bit about it, because, he's always been a defenseman. From the day he was drafted, he's been a defenseman. And this isn't like you're taking somebody who has the prior experience and you're saying, well, go back to forward. It's the best path for you. It very well may be the best path for him to get into the lineup, as we're seeing tonight. Defensively, this team seems pretty set when it comes to how many, because if they're going to Nate Prosser, who's their ninth guy in line, or who knows who else they could have tapped for that situation, that says that they're not giving up on the experiment. They're letting Sam Morin strictly be a forward, when technically, by all accounts, there was a spot open for him defensively there, because he could have been the guy who came in and added some size and maybe played a simple stay-at-home game. And so instead, they stick with him at forward. Now the opportunity has arisen for that to happen. And I think also it's happened because of Morgan Frost's injury too, because if you had another guy like that, if you were really not satisfied with the forward play, and I know Frost is not the biggest guy either, but you could sit there and throw a guy like that into a lineup again too and say, I'm looking for something from you. I'm looking for you to jumpstart some of it because you're looking for an opportunity. Here it is. I'm taking somebody else out, and here's your chance. I hope that's what we get from Sam Morin, because he's worked really hard to get back into the lineup. It's no secret how injuries have plagued his entire career, and now he's getting that opportunity to play in an NHL game again as well. It's really funny. It's kind of like the Nate Prosser story all over again, just with more injuries involved and that type of thing, because here's a guy who, again, hasn't played a lot and is looking for the opportunity to contribute. And it would be a feel-good story for him if he helped out in some way on the offensive side, more than just being a big physical presence, because it would be huge for the way that because you saw the way that the team reacted when Prosser scores that goal. He's the last guy I think anybody expected to score, and rightly so. The team goes nuts over that, and it kind of, did it start them in the right direction completely from that point? No, they had another period and a half where they struggled offensively and had those issues defensively as well. But it gave them some energy going into the third period too, when they had a shot to win the game because of Prosser's goal. And now they take that and they carry it over to get another win. If Sam Morin can do something similar, who knows what that could do for this team, because everybody really seems to love him in that locker room. They've been hopeful that he could be a part of this team and contribute in a certain way for them in one way or another, whether it's the physical side, because he's got so much size, whether it's his ability to defend in terms of playing in a more stay-at-home role, which shouldn't be what we see tonight anyway. It should be watching him try to be the best forward he can be. And he had some good moments in the scrimmage when we got to see him play a few weeks back as a forward. So he might be able to carry some things over. I wouldn't expect his ice time to be massively high in this game. I think they'll lean on a couple other guys. You're really probably going to see them lean on your Jake Voraceks, Kevin Hayes, Claude Giroux, Scott Lawton will probably get some significant time. You think Oscar Lindblom will get some significant time. Guys like that, they'll lean on those guys because they know they'll need those guys to be at their best to win a game against this team. But Moran's going to get his share of time as well, especially early in the game when you're trying to set the tone, especially from a physical side. So we'll see how that goes, but this is an opportunity for him. It's a chance to show how this experiment is going. Obviously, he has done enough in the practice setting to warrant this decision, so we'll see how it goes.
Now, the other note from the morning skate was, as you mentioned earlier, Phil Myers being back on the ice, paired with Travis Sanheim, and then Prosser paired with Haig. So if we are to take anything, well, first of all, what should we take? I think sometimes people take the morning skate as gospel, and sometimes I know that it's not. So explain that and explain what these changing of the line pairings may mean for what we would see from the Flyers tonight.
Right now, I don't know if we know what it's going to mean because I think we all expected, it's very unlikely to see a morning skate happen and not get the coaching staff or get a few players for media availability right after. Usually you get those media availability times in the late afternoon, a couple hours before the game. That usually happens on days when you don't have the morning skate and you're looking for any last minute changes from what you would have seen the day before in practice. So the fact that they were on the ice this morning showed something because clearly we all, got the notes somewhere in here, where it's Phil Myers is practicing with his normal partner. Sam Moran's taking, leading stretches. Looks like he's in. Travis Konechny's working with extras. Nate Prosser's with the extras, that kind of thing. Usually that warrants some sort of almost immediate explanation to get an idea of where the coaching staff's mind is at. And I can understand if there's a guy who, like in Phil Myers' case, if Alain Vigneault would have spoken after the practice and says, not sure on Phil Myers yet, he's a game time decision. I get that. It's understandable. You're kind of just letting him see how he feels as it gets closer to the game. But there's no talk at all. So we're left to speculate whether this means he's in or not, whether it means Prosser gets another chance. And we're really left to speculate the Konechny-Moran situation because there's no indication of what that means. We could be waiting on a note that Konechny's dealing with some small injury. We don't really know yet. They could come out and tell us that later on. Now, by all indications, it seems like he's healthy and he is able to play. He's just the choice not to play. So that's what we're waiting to find out. But I think that if Myers is playing with Sanheim and getting regular rotations with Sanheim, they started that Wednesday before they got into the Thursday game with the Devils. That kind of gave you an indication that this was getting closer. And that's why I was telling you guys for the last couple of days, maybe the weekend, but Wednesday of next week seems definitely on the table. I think now, if not tonight, maybe tomorrow is definitely on the table as well, because it seems like he's going back in, and that would be such a huge boost for this defensive core because he is another guy who skates well, who moves the puck well, has good defensive responsibilities, and maybe he's a guy who can help you be better in your own zone because we started to see good signs out of the team in that regard on Tuesday, and it was like they completely regressed in the Thursday game, especially for those first two periods when the Devils were coming in waves and you needed Carter Hart to be as outstanding as possible to keep yourself in that game and ultimately in position to get the win.
Kevin Durso joining us here on the Boardwalk kind of hotline on 97.3 ESPN. Make sure you're following him on Twitter at Kevin_Durso for your Flyers and NHL coverage on 97.3 ESPN.com, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. So let's get into this game specifically tonight. Islanders, one of a twofer for the Flyers here. The Islanders 3-4, Flyers 5-2-1. Two teams in very different positions within the standings, but we should note that there's not a huge difference in terms of the goal differential. Flyers are just +2, Islanders are -3. And aside from one game, Varlamov has played really well this year. So what should we expect from the Islanders tonight?
I think you're going to see a very angry and frustrated hockey team because they had that game in their control against Washington earlier in the week and completely got away from what they do well and let it slip away. You go from being up 3-0 to losing a game 6-3 from a matter of late first period to the end of the game. there's no way that this team is going to come in happy. And that's not a good thing for the Flyers. This is a team that knows they're better than the 3-4 record. That they're way better than that. They were also knocking on the door to be possibly a Stanley Cup final team in the bubble setting. They were right there keeping up with the Tampa Bay Lightning in that series for most of it. And, now you're looking at the start of their season, and they, by all accounts, because sometimes it's not the play on the ice. You can have really good stretches on the ice, not get the luck, not get the right situation where, you struggle with some aspect or another, and it leads to losses in some way, shape, or form. 3-4 is not a good start. And now they're stuck recovering from this. They need to recover from this in some way soon, because that's how you get back into the playoff race. And luckily for them, I think that the East Division is really tight from top to bottom. There's not a lot of, you can look at the Flyers at 5-2-1 and say there's not a lot of separation between them and the division leading Washington Capitals, but there's not a lot of separation between them and the Islanders either, who are second to last in the division right now. So it can that quickly shift. And I think we really got to see that also when the Flyers played in Boston last week into the weekend. You get one, you lose in a shootout in the one game, you get blown out in the other. And just like that, one team gets 4 points and you get one. There's a huge opportunity for the Islanders here to potentially go out and say they can get 4 points this weekend, hold a team that's toward the top to nothing, and be right back in this race. So that's how quickly it can shift, especially when you're only 7-8 games into your season. The Islanders have played 7, the Flyers have played 8. There's a lot of time still left for quick flexibility when you play the same teams over and over again. They're not a perfect team right now. They're dealing with a couple of things. One of the guys who I thought was so impressive in the playoff series over the summer, Anthony Bevilier, is out for at least a weekend. He's not playing. So that's a huge loss for the Islanders. They're also still kind of wondering whether or not they're going to have Ryan Pulock in the lineup too. He's a top pair defenseman for this team. He was dealing with a little bit of an injury earlier in the week. He has been skating. Barry Trotz said he expects him to play. And obviously the other opportunity the Flyers have in this series is, Varlamov's been pretty good in some of these games, but he hasn't been quite as good as I think he was in the playoff series. He was really good in the playoff series that they had against him, and he's had some moments where he's letting a few in. And not only that, but you got another guy in goal who's a rookie in Ilya Sorokin, and he's this guy who has had his struggles early on because he's trying to adjust to the NHL game. So you're going to see him in one of these games. My guess would be probably tomorrow. I think you're going to see Varlamov tonight, and because I think both teams are going to try to put their best foot forward first tonight, and then think about tomorrow's game tomorrow when it really comes down to it. But to start with, I think you're going to see that kind of thing. And I think it's just a question now of whether or not we get the full New York Islander lineup, because if Pulock's not able to play, then you're left really trying to scramble. And they've got some guys on the rise. Oliver Wahlstrom's in the lineup, and he was kind of struggling to get into that picture while they were making a run last year. And Noah Dobson, the same thing. These are two recent first-round picks that had a lot of potential, and now they're starting to deliver. Dobson's one of the team's top point producers so far early in the season, which is kind of surprising. You see the Matt Barzels and the Anders Lees and guys like that ranking toward the top of their points, and that's no surprise at all. But to get a guy like Noah Dobson who's playing on your third pairing and putting up some points, it's kind of like what we had with the Devils with the Ty Smith thing. Ty Smith was off to this huge start point-wise, didn't necessarily look the best in those 2 games. Could be the same thing with Noah Dobson. You might need to lean on your top 4 here to really be as good as possible, because that was the group of 4 that really shut the Flyers down from an offensive standpoint in that series too. And I think that that's another thing that they're going to be looking to do to get their season back on the right track from a win-loss standpoint, because they've done some good things. It's just not translating to the results they want.
You mentioned offense. That's where I wanted to go next with you. The Flyers struggled to get shots versus that last Devils game. I mean, the first 2 periods, it was rough to watch. They were trying and not getting shots at all. It just felt like Carter Hart was just under assault, and the offense was just getting no traction until the third period. How do the Flyers fix that? How do the Flyers, because they can't do that against the Islanders, in my opinion. The Islanders are, to me at least, the record might not say it, but they're a better team on the ice than the Devils are. So how do you avoid those pitfalls against a better on-ice team in the Islanders?
Well, I think for one, you take the shot when it's available to you. And there were a couple times during the 2 Devils games where I would see something, this team would get a 2-on-1, get an odd man rush of some kind. There should be a guy who's got an open lane to get at least a shot on goal, even if it's from a bit of a distance. When it's there, take the shot. Don't try to make the perfect pass. Don't try to make this creative play. Take a shot and get something on goal. Because, I think the one thing we did see when they did finally start to turn it on in the third period, was, look at the way the fourth line had to play in a couple of those shifts. And when you get a shot chance for the first time in a while, it can get the goalie out of position. It happened in both games, really. I think about Nolan Patrick's goal in the third period of Tuesday's game. Goalie gets down and out of position because it's not like he's had traffic at the front of the net the whole game to deal with. So now he's kind of panicking for a moment because he's reacting to a situation he hasn't been in for at least 2 periods. The same thing would happen with the fourth line on the ice in Thursday's game. A puck comes right to the front of the net. Bunneman's right there to get a scoring chance. Now you get the goalie down and out, and there's nobody covering Michael Raffl, who goes to the net and gets an easy goal out of it. And that's how you get those chances anyways, by getting pressure on the net. You need to get shots on the net. And I think that too many times they passed up the easy opportunity to get one. It's funny, even on the goal that Claude Giroux scored in the third period, Eric Gustafsson had all the time and space in the world, and now he makes a good play with the slap pass, but I'm sitting there looking at it going, I'm waiting for the shot to come in, because how do you pass that up? And I appreciated something earlier in that period, because Joel Farabee took a shot where he actually had Travis Sanheim open on the wing, kind of coming up with a lot of space, but he took the shot anyway, and you go, you know what? You can't complain about that. Yes, Sanheim was probably there, but you can't complain about taking a shot when you only had 8 in the first 2 periods. Take the shot there because it's there. And that's the message I think that was sent after that second period. And it's going to need to be sent here too, because you can't afford to have a game where I think you get, I'll just use the number from the last game. They had 17 shots in the Thursday game against New Jersey. You can't take 17 shots on Semyon Varlamov and this Islander team and expect to come out with a win. You're going to need to get into the 20s comfortably, pushing 30 for sure, just to feel like you have enough firepower. And you need to hold them to a nice number as well. You can't give up 34, pushing 40 like they have in these other games. You need to give up something like you did on Tuesday in the low to mid 20s possibly, to see if you can survive their wave as well. Because if they come at you with the same waves of pressure that we've seen from a lot of these teams, from the Devils, from the Bruins, from teams like that, you will not survive with the offensive power they have, because Barzal's going to be licking his chops to get open space and be creative and do what he does. And same thing with guys like Andersley, who goes to the net constantly, guys like Josh Bailey, guys like Brock Nelson. These are the guys who will take full advantage of the time and space that you allow them and the amount of shots that you allow them. So you need to play a smarter game in your own zone. And when you get the chance in the offensive zone, fire away. Don't hold anything back and get some chances on the net, because you're going to need it in this game.
He's Kevin Durso. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Kevin_Durso, because he's going to have all the updates when Alain Vigneault speaks to the media later today. And of course, you can hear the entire Flyers game tonight on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, and don't forget 97.3 ESPN.com for pregame and postgame coverage by him, Kevin Durso. You see him live on the Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter streams here with me, Josh Hennig, on 97.3 ESPN on the Boardwalk kind of hotline. Kevin, appreciate you jumping on and the insights, because it feels like the Flyers, it's always something right now, which is fun. It keeps the season interesting.
It does, for sure. And it's good to see them with a good record to start with all this going on, because if it wasn't, I think it would be a much different tune coming out of everything.
Yeah, I'm not sitting here like Broads and saying, I dread watching this team. Like, for a hockey guy, Broads is over there like, oh my gosh, this Flyers team, they're so rough. I'm like, Broads are 5-2-1. Like, come on, man.
When Broads texts me during the games on occasion, I really get that sense from him, and then he comes on and he'll come on the next day and then say something. I go, that's not the way you were texting me the night before.
Oh, that's great. Kevin, have a good one, man. And again, happy birthday, my friend.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Josh.
Kevin Durso here on 97.3 ESPN on the Boardwalk kind of hotline. Our Flyers conversation being brought to you by my friends over at weightliftinghq.com. Use code radio10 at checkout for 10% off your entire order. Bench and squat racks, kettlebells, dumbbells, cardio and fitness machines, resistance bands, and more. Whatever you need, weightliftinghq.com has got you covered for all of your health and fitness goals in 2021. Use code radio10 at checkout for 10% off your entire order at weightliftinghq.com. Radio10 for 10% off at weightliftinghq.com. We'll get back to your text at 609-403-0973. The Phillies, the Eagles, the Flyers, the Sixers. We got all the bases covered today, and a little NFL news with quarterbacks. What's going on with Matthew Stafford? We We got that to get to next on the show here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. And we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can comment on the show as well, watching the show on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, 973 ESPN.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tonight on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app with Tim Saunders and Steve Coates calling all the play-by-play action.
What a save by Carter Hart.
The Flyers host the New York Islanders. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on the radio home of the Flyers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN, and listen live on the free mobile app.
Stop the countdown. It's not a new year we're celebrating. It's an all-new Matt Blatt Nissan. Yes, you heard right. Matt Blatt Nissan is now open on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, next to Home Depot, and online at mattblattnissan.com. Help us celebrate when you get out of that old car, truck, or SUV and into a brand new Nissan with the Matt Blatt Nissan Fast Track Checkout. Available online at mattblattnissan.com. Our non-touch delivery and electronic paperwork ensures your safety comes first. Plus, Matt Blatt Nissan wants your trade. Bring it in today and help us celebrate the all-new Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, or visit us online. We want to help with your credit approval. And don't forget, with Matt Blatt, you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Celebrate the all-new Matt Blatt Nissan online at mattblattnissan.com. Credit may affect terms. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle. Get all the details at mattblattnissan.com. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Babe, look, cash pop from the New Jersey Lottery. We just got to match one number, 1 through 15, to win.
Whoa, so easy.
Our anniversary date? September
6th?
14th.
Not to interrupt you guys, but the more numbers you play, the better your odds of winning.
Well, the 6th was our first date anniversary.
Aw, let's play both numbers.
With Cash Pop, you could win up to 250 times your wager. So pop in and play. Anything can happen in Jersey. Must be 18 or older to buy a lottery ticket. Please play responsibly. If you or somebody knows a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hey, my name's James, and a little thing I love about Chick-fil-A's Grilled Spicy Deluxe is the first bite, you get a little kick of spice, and then that cilantro and lime sauce that kind of balances things out. Just delicious.
Hey, I'm Amber. A little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A new Grilled Spicy Deluxe is how well all of the ingredients complement each other. It's so good. I like bob my head side to side, dancing while I eat.
Chick-fil-A's Grilled Spicy Deluxe Sandwich, available for a limited time only. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
Dorothy Roofing. Call 1-877-97-KEVIN.
Hi, I'm Kevin Daly, the owner of Dorothy Gale Roofing. Do you have a leak? Do you need a new roof? Give us a call today for honest, wholehearted advice at 1-877-97-KEVIN.
Wizard quality comes with DorothyRoofing.com.
Beachcombing, baking cookies, learning French. Aren't these what you'd rather be doing than thinking about your Medicare prescriptions? Well, Walgreens is here to help you get back to it with convenient refill and pickup options, expert pharmacists to answer all your questions, and Medicare copays as low as $0. Zero. Which is also the number of cares in the world you'll have as you stroll the beach, eating cookies and speaking French. Oh la la. Walgreens.
$0 copays apply to Tier 1 generic drugs and select plans where Walgreens is a preferred pharmacy.
A message from your neighbors and friends at First Bank. We've been serving residents and businesses of Sea Isle City and the surrounding communities for more than 130 years. Today's challenges, while unique, are another opportunity to show our strength and resilience. Our commitment to you remains strong. Whether it's using our drive-through services, bank by phone, the First Bank mobile app, or online banking, we're staying strong with you. Be safe and be secure. First Bank, here for you.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios on 97.3 ESPN. Yes, that's Matt Blatt Kia on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township. Again, Flyers hockey back on tonight. Thanks to Kevin Durso for joining us here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, the big news that popped off before I came on the air today. We'll get to your comments on the Phillies. What's going on with them? JT removed their recycle a couple days ago. Now they've resigned D.D. Gregorius to a 2-year, $28 million deal. According to reports, part of the money is deferred in a corresponding move to make room on the 40-man roster for Didi Gregorius and Matt Moore, who they signed, the left-handed pitcher. The Phillies are trading Cole Irvin to Oakland, according to John Heyman. So a lot of moving parts going on with these teams, with everything that's going on. Of course, we had comments at 609-403-0973 on the text board, 609-403-0973. Also, we got viewers on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Shout out to the Real Sea Wagon. How you doing? Thanks for watching the show. Thanks for commenting on the show today. Good to have everybody on board here on 97.3 ESPN. So you can comment on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, or you can text in at 609-403-0973 on the text board. Again, some of the news today is that Didi Gregorius is re-signed with the Phillies for a 2-year, $28 million contract, and they are trading Cole Irvin to the A's to make room on the roster for a player to be named later. We got Doc from Dover chiming in at 609-403-0973. Says, hey, Phillies, thanks for signing Didi and JT, but where's the pitching and the defense? It's from Doc in Dover. Well, Doc, here's the thing. When it comes to the pitching and the defense, it's subjective because it depends. What do you think of the pitching staff? What do you think of this team? I have to wonder, Vince Velasquez is still here, right? And Spencer Howard, they haven't seemed to have given up on him yet. Apparently he was the only guy in the top 100 of MLB's pipeline, top 100 prospect ranking. So we know these guys are out there. We know these guys are of interest to teams. I'm just questioning, Doc from Dover, is our perspective on these guys different than what the team is? Now, Dombrowski is no fool. He is no fool. He is a guy who understands that they do need more. Now, I don't know how they're going to go out and get it because they're to keep deferring money down the road. They deferred JT's money. They're deferring part of Didi's money. So, all right, they're trying to stay financially flexible. But you're right. I would like to see more pitching, which is what goes in line with what another texter said at 609-403-0973. Says, do you think we are a Trevor Bauer away from competing for a World Series with bullpen help that we have added? Well, first of all, if the Phillies found a way to get Trevor Bauer, I don't care if that makes you a contender or not. I think that makes you way better than you are now. Because, first of all, I'm a huge Trevor Bauer guy. I love his fire. I love his attitude. I love it's just his attitude. I like the fact that he's a throwback baseball-wise. He gets angry. He's passionate. He's got the juice. I love Trevor Bauer. But he's probably not coming here because he's probably going to get big money from either the Mets or the Dodgers. Apparently right now the Mets and the Dodgers are in a bit of a bidding war for him because Bauer wants multiple years. He wants like 5-6 year contract like a Garrett Cole got, while the Mets and the Dodgers are saying, well, we'll give you Garrett Cole average annual value money, but we're not going to give you, 5-6 years, maybe like 2-3, maximum 4 years. So I would love to see the Phillies in on that bidding war, but he's probably not coming here. And I don't even know if Trevor Bauer makes you a contender for the World Series because of the fact that all he does is put you on the same level with the top 2 or 3 teams in the division. It's the Braves division, and then you have the Mets and the Nats scrapping away at their heels, in my opinion. And then after that, it's the Phillies and the Marlins. So barring any crazy injuries, I would suspect that we're not going to see anything crazy out there when it comes to the Phillies adding a guy. I would love to see them do that, though. And maybe that would make them a World Series contender. But for me, at least, Texter, not. I don't want to get my hopes up. I'm just glad they're re-signing the guys they should re-sign at this point. 609-403-0973. Let's get back to people watching. We got Chris Dunn watching on YouTube at 973 ESPN. We are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Chris Dunn says, I like the move to re-sign Didi Gregorius, but we still need a starting pitcher, a center fielder, a setup, and a closer. Well, I think that at least the Phillies think that they've addressed some of the bullpen with some of the moves that they made. I think that's what they think. I agree with you 100%. The bigger thing to me of the things you listed, Chris Dunn, is the starting pitching. I need another starter. Now, maybe they're hoping Matt Moore is that guy, because Matt Moore a few years ago was a bona fide left-handed, maybe 2 or number 3 guy in the rotation kind of pitcher. So maybe they think if Matt Moore can be that guy, he fills that void. But that's only one pitcher. I need more than just Matt Moore. I think that for the Phillies, a starting 3, if they pitch up to their potential of Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, and Matt Moore, is definitely an improvement over last year, but the back 2 is still a question. Eflin had some great moments last year. I don't know if Eflin is still that guy, though. I have questions about Eflin moving forward. Vince Velasquez, Spencer Howard, that makes me a heck of a lot nervous. That's for sure. People are saying that they added some bully pitching. To me, that's number 2. Number 1, I need better starters, because last year it felt like that this team, unless it was Nola or Wheeler, they just couldn't go deep at all in games. That was a huge problem. We'll get more of your comments on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and the text board 609-403-0973. I'm Josh Hennig. I'll be back in a moment.
Tonight on the NBA on ESPN Radio.
Here's James. Puts it off the window. He gets it himself.
LeBron and the Lakers head to Boston to face Jason Tatum and the Celtics.
It doesn't matter any given year whether the team is good or bad. You're up for this game. It's just something about this game every year.
It's the NBA on 97.3 ESPN, your exclusive home for the NBA Finals. Coverage begins after the Flyers host the New York Islanders.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by Angelic Health Telehealth.
Stress takes its toll on us both physically and mentally, so it stands to reason that stress relief should be part of our routine, just like exercise. In fact, some people believe meditation is the equivalent of working out for our mind. Meditation might conjure an image of a yogi sitting cross-legged for hours at the top of a mountain, but it can actually be done almost anywhere, even if it's just for a few minutes, and it can have amazing benefits. When you're meditating and deep breathing, you focus your attention and eliminate the stream of jumbled thoughts that may be crowding your mind and causing stress. Meditation can give you a sense of calm, peace, and balance that benefits your entire body. So take a deep breath and feel the stress melt away. If you want to try meditation, we have some easy ways to get started on our website. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Brought to you by Angelic Telehealth. They're by your side. Visit angelic.health today.
Offer excludes new Corvettes and new Cadillacs. Kerbeck and Atlantic City model year closeout. All remaining 2020 models must go at Kerbeck Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac of Atlantic City. 2020 Chevrolet Equinoxes. Over $7,000 off original MSRP. Over 30 to choose. All Equinox models in stock. Premiers, LS, and LT. As low as 0% up to 72 months. 2020 Chevrolet Equinoxes. Over $7,000 off original MSRP. Over 30 to choose. All Equinox models, Premiers, LS, and LT as low as 0% up to 72 months. Save on any new Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, or Pre-owned. We are Kerbeck Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac of Atlantic City, Albany Avenue. Kerbeck of Atlantic City model year closeout. Click KerbeckAtlanticCity.com. Find new roads. Call Kerbeck for details. 1-866-518-0086.
Beachcombing, baking cookies, learning French. Aren't these what you'd rather be doing than thinking about your Medicare prescriptions? Well, Walgreens is here to help you get back to it with convenient refill and pickup options, expert pharmacists to answer all your questions, and Medicare copays as low as $0. Zero. Which is also the number of cares in the world you'll have as you stroll the beach, eating cookies and speaking French. Oh la la. Walgreens.
$0 copays apply to Tier 1 generic drugs and select plans where Walgreens is a preferred pharmacy.
Do you crave the thrill of success and all the opportunities that come with it? Are you an ambitious professional who seeks an exciting career opportunity with unlimited earning potential? Are your achievements most rewarding when they also benefit others?
If so, then you may have what it takes to join South Jersey's leading radio and online marketing sales team at Town Square Media. Discover your passion for advertising sales and earn a guaranteed salary while you learn. Leverage newfound skills in integrated marketing campaign design and help local businesses businesses recover and grow in the coming year.
With commission gains and hands-on training, your income grows right alongside your skill set, so you'll never be making less than what you're worth.
To schedule an interview, go to townsquaremedia.com and tap on careers. Kick off a challenging but fulfilling career in advertising sales with Townsquare Media Atlantic City. That's townsquaremedia.com and tap on careers. Take success into your own hands today. Townsquare Media is an equal opportunity employer.
A radio home for Philadelphia Flyers hockey.
They score!
WENJ, WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City, 97.3 ESPN. This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Now, Sports Bash Saturday. Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here, second hour of the show on 97.3 ESPN. We'll be talking Sixers and NBA coming up at 1:20 p.m. with Brandon Scoopy Robinson, NBA insider, old friend of the show, will be joining us to get more into the Sixers and the NBA. Of course, Sixers back in action tomorrow night versus the Pacers right here on 97.3 ESPN. Lakers versus Celtics tonight following the Flyers. You get your NBA covered this weekend on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget also college basketball this weekend. Villanova versus Seton Hall coming up at 3:15 today on 97.3 ESPN FM. And Michigan State versus Ohio State tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN at 12:45 following Billy Schweim in the Locker Room's Sunday edition here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, the news that broke about an hour ago, Didi Gregorius re-signing with the Phillies for a 2-year, $28 million contract. The Phillies in the corresponding move are trading Cole Irvin to the Oakland A's for a player to be named later. So we got a lot to get to throughout the show. Also, get to some NFL news with Matthew Stafford in just a bit as well. We got text coming in at 609-403-0973. Also, comments on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We got Sal chiming in as well. You can watch the show on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at 973 ESPN. We'll get to Sal's comments. Also, Chris Dunn followed up with a comment as well. We'll get to your comments in just a moment. Just want to remind everybody as well, I will have my FanDuel Sportsbook pick of the show a little bit later. We went 2 for 2 yesterday. We made up for a losing Thursday. We got a double winner yesterday. We hit the Sixers on the line on FanDuel Sportsbook. We also got the DFS player, Trae Young. I mean, did I not tell you that Trae Young plays better when he's got a Rajon Rondo out there? While Rondo's fighting with Russell Westbrook, Trae Young is going for 40-plus points in the game last night. Holy cow. I mean, that dude is electric. And when he's got a guy like Rondo to distract the other team away from him, I mean, just gives Trae Young openings. Because don't forget, Rondo's not there to be a scoring threat. Rondo is there to balance out the floor, be a veteran leader, and then, you know, be an agitator for Russell Westbrook and the Wizards. So that was a wild game last night. But let's get to your thoughts on the Phillies. We'll get to your text at 609-403-0973 in just a moment. But first, I want to get to Chris Dunn's second comment. I'll get to Sal's comment on YouTube. Chris Dunn says, is Rhys Hoskins fixable? He is the Wentz of the Phillies. Rhys Hoskins is a fascinating story when it comes to just how far you can go from amazing to just mediocre to below average. Because when he burst onto the scene in that first year and a half, he was among the best players in terms of slugging percentage and home runs. He was a legitimate power bat. And I don't know if this problem started with him or if it started with Gabe Kapler. It started somewhere. But the guy goes out there in his first year. He has 48 home runs in 50 games. 48 RBIs in 50 games and 18 home runs. The next season, he has 34 home runs and 96 RBIs. And you're like, this guy, he's a power hitter. He's a slugger, right? But then as soon as they made him a 2-hole hitter, I think it ruined him. I think that Gabe Kapler destroyed this guy's ability to be a slugger. Because since the last 2 seasons, he has 39 home runs over the last 2 years. He had 34 in 2018. Why? Because they turned him into this 2-hole hitter and he's so patient at the plate and blah, blah, blah. So I think Hoskins is fixable because I think Hoskins still has that power in him, but they got to get him out of the 2-hole. I don't want him watching pitches go by all day long. He needs to put the bat on the ball. He needs to be aggressive. He needs to be he needs to go out there and act like a guy who can hit for power. Now, last year, you saw it in moments, right? There were moments in time where you were like, all right, there's the old Reese, because he was finally back over 500 in terms of slugging percentage last year. But, man, that 245 batting average is an eyesore. He needs to get back over 250. He needs to get that batting average back up. I love the fact that he's not striking out a ton. I love the fact that he's walking a lot. That's all well and good. But when you have 34 and 96 in their back pocket, that's who you are. You're not an on-base guy, all right? Leave the on-base stuff to guys like Scott Kingery and, JT Realmuto is the guy hitting for contact. He might not always get on base, but he can move the runners over. He's got great back control. That's who should be up there. I don't want to see Hoskins in the 1 or 2 hole ever again. I think that's why he's fixable, because as soon as you get him out of that hole, I think you have a chance. Let's get a text in here over at 609-403-0973 before we get over to Sal's comment watching on YouTube 97.3 ESPN. We are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Dan from EHT follows up, says, I like the Matt Moore sign. The Phillies need a lefty starter bad. Irvin being traded says there's confidence in Moore. Phillies haven't had a reliable lefty since Cole Hamels. The Matt Moore signing to me is fascinating because I remember when this guy was considered the next up-and-coming guy, right? For all those years with Tampa Bay, they were just churning out pitchers. It was David Price. It was James Shields. It was, oh my goodness, who was the one of the guy? Jeremy Hullickson was down there for a while, and it just felt like Matt Moore was supposed to be the next guy, right? He was supposed to be that next pitcher. Chris Archer, that's the other guy I was thinking of. Jake Odorizzi was down there. So for Moore, he was supposed to be the next guy, okay? And at first, it seemed like he was going to be that guy. 2013, he goes a 17-4. He's an all-star. And then the injuries happen, right? He gets injured a couple of years. He basically only had 14 starts for 2 years. Then he's healthy again. He looked better than he had before. He gets traded to the Giants. And then he's on a bad team. He's pitching poorly. And then he needs Tommy John surgery. And then later he needs meniscus surgery on his knee. So the guy's been through Tommy John. He's been through knee surgery. But he showed last year. He didn't pitch in Major League Baseball. He pitched in Japan last year. Now, part of that was because of the COVID stuff. But part of it was also because of it was hard for teams to gauge who was healthy and who was not in an offseason when you can't have full physicals, right? So he goes to Japan, and he pitches great over there. He pitches great in the Japanese series, and that's part of the reason why he's back here. I don't need him to be 17-4, all right? But if I can get him back to what he was when he went 11-11 and had a 3.81 ERA or 13-12 with a 4.08 ERA, I can work with that. I need him to at least be a viable pitcher. Because one of the things that Matt Moore can do is he can mix his pitches. As Danny HC says, he's kind of a crafty lefty. He's a little closer to Cole Hamels than anybody else in terms of comparison of his style of pitching. So I'd be down with that. I'd be fine if Matt Moore is just out there throwing 90, 92 miles an hour and he's got a 4 or less ERA, he's getting you some wins. Because I don't need him to be the best pitcher on the staff. I got Nola. I got Wheeler. I can work with that. 609-403-0973 is the text board. Of course, we're also live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Don't forget, coming up at 1:20 p.m., NBA insider Brandon Robinson will join us to talk Sixers and NBA. A lot to get to with Scoop B coming up about 10 minutes from now. I mentioned we get to Sal's comment on YouTube as well. Sal says, I need more relief pitching. The relief pitching situation with the Phillies, I got to admit, is strange because I don't say this to be mean, but obviously they must know something I don't and the rest of us don't, because I look at their relief pitching, and while it's okay, it's nothing great. It's really not. Like, when you think about their pitching staff, right? And you realize that they've made some trades. They got Archie Bradley. All right. I mean, if he's healthy, that's a good move, right? They've made some trades. They've brought in guys like Sam Coonrod, guys like Jose Alvarado. They added some guys, but I'm not getting excited about those guys. David Hale doesn't get me excited. Hector Neris, he still makes me nervous. Maybe if Jojo Romero is a little more focused this year, that might be okay. So I'm with you. They need more relief pitching. I'm not getting overly excited about Bradley and Alvarado, although both of them are significant upgrades over some of the dudes you had in the bullpen last year. That's for sure, Sal. I just think with the Phillies, I just need to see more. I need to see you make some more moves. Now, maybe they're going to go into camp with a handful of guys and walk out with other guys. Don't forget about the non-roster invitees. There's two interesting names there among pitchers on the non-roster. Neftali Feliz and Ivan Nova. If we can get anything out of either one of those guys, that could be huge. Sometimes those non-roster invitees can do some big things. Getting a comment in here on the YouTube feed. We got Steve Garrison chiming in on the YouTube feed. Of course, you can watch the show on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. The Sports Bash with Mike Gill and Hunter Birdie, Monday through Friday. Game night with yours truly, Josh Hennig, at 6 o'clock, Monday through Friday. And then the Locker Room with Billy Schweim Saturday mornings, as well as Sports Bash Saturday, all live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and live on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. Steve Garrison says, do you think Dave Dombrowski saved the Phillies offseason? Without him, I think they lose both JT and Didi. So I think that they definitely lose JT, because I think that John Middleton, Matt Klintak, Andy McPhail and company all completely mismanaged that situation. You cannot give up one of the best young pitchers in minor league baseball, Sixto Sanchez, send him to the Marlins, and be so indifferent about re-signing JT Realmuto. Every time Klintak was asked about JT Realmuto, he made it sound like they didn't care if he came back or not. And that was scary. That made everybody nervous. Like, if you are a Phillies fan, how can you look at the best catcher in baseball and then you hear your GM say, oh, well, I don't know. What is that? That's garbage. So, yes, I agree with you 100%, Steve. Steven Garrison. Can I call you Steve? Anyway, Steven Garrison. Do I think that Dave Dombrowski saved the offseason? I think he saved JT Realmuto 100%. I don't know if Archie Bradley is here, if Dombrowski is not here. I think that's a fact. Didi's an interesting situation because it was Klintak and McPhail that did sign Didi to the one-year contract in the first place. So I feel like they might have brought him back anyway. I think the biggest difference would have been maybe the Phillies would have cut more salary and then signed Didi. Because I think that if Dombrowski wasn't here, maybe the idea would have been, you say, all right, we don't re-sign JT, we re-sign Didi, we trade a player or two, cut some salary. Because remember, that was Middleton who was talking about the pandemic, and nobody wants to move in the middle of a pandemic, and all the weird stuff he was saying when he was just talking with a bunch of marbles in his mouth just a few months ago. And now you got Dombrowski coming in. And let's be realistic. Dombrowski is a guy who understands how to run a baseball team. He's no idiot. He understands that you got to sign players to win. If he's serious about winning, I'm agree with you. I think Dombrowski did save the Phillies season. So at least with JT, I can't speak 100% for Didi. So, of course, again, the breaking news came out earlier today. Didi Gregorius re-signing with the Philadelphia Phillies for a 2-year, $28 million contract, and the corresponding move, the Phillies are trading Cole Irvin to the A's. I really can't believe I'm talking Phillies here on January 30th. Like, I came into this show thinking I'm going to be talking Sixers, Flyers, NFL, Eagles, and then the Phillies just dropped this bomb on me before I come on the air. And we've been talking about it ever since. Craziness. But we do got to get back to the Sixers. A win last night. They covered the spread over the Timberwolves last night, as I told you they would last night on game night on 97.3 ESPN. So coming up next, we'll get more into the NBA with NBA insider Brandon Scoop B. Robinson, friend of the show, is joining us coming up next to get more into the 76ers and more right here with me, Josh Hennig, on Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. And we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tonight on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app with Tim Saunders and Steve Coates calling all the play-by-play action.
What a save by Carter Hart.
The Flyers host the New York Islanders. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on the radio home of the Flyers in South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN and listen live on the free mobile app.
Start the new year in a new Kia at Matt Blatt Kia in Toms River or Egg Harbor Township today. The new year is an opportunity to set new goals and start fresh. And at Matt Blatt Kia, our goal is to get you out of that old car you hate. Come in today or visit us online and get the credit you deserve this new year. 0% APR financing available for up to 75 months on new 2021 Kia Sportage LX SUVs in stock. Plus, Matt Blatt Kia in Toms River and Egg Harbor Township wants your trade, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Plus, you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Offers with approved Tier 1 or 2 credit through Kia Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. 0% based on 1516 per 1,000 borrowed. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details. Expires 2/4/2021. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township. And now on Route 37 in Toms River.
Interest rates are at an all-time low, making this the perfect time to buy a home or save money by refinancing your mortgage. South Jersey Federal Credit Union offers great rates, local decisions, and now through March 31st, a credit of up to $1,000 towards closing costs on qualifying mortgages. Visit southjerseyfcu.com. Call 1-800-582-7640 or visit a branch for information. Must apply by March 31st, 2021. Subject to qualifications and approval. Owner-occupied residences only. Other restrictions apply. Equal housing lender.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? So you've got an oil change to do. We can get you everything you need. Right now, you can get 5 quarts of Valvoline Max Life High Mileage Motor Oil and an STP oil filter for just $26.99. Plus a $5 bonus reward if you're an AutoZone Rewards member. Not a member? We can sign you up fast right here in store or on AutoZone.com. Getting the job done just got easier. Terms at AutoZone.com/rewards. Restrictions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
If you're struggling with a drug or alcohol addiction, now is the time to take action and get professional help. Call Recovery Centers of America at 1-888-RECOVERY today. You are worthy of recovery from your addiction, and calling RCA will be your first step in getting the help you need. Recovery Centers of America answers the phone and admits patients 24/7. And because safety is a top priority, all patients and staff are routinely tested for COVID-19. RCA's expert team of physicians and medical professionals will treat you with compassion and dignity and provide an evidence-based treatment plan that is custom-tailored to your specific needs. Recovery Centers of America at Devon and Lighthouse are local and in-network with insurance providers, so their best-in-class inpatient and outpatient care, offered both in-person and via teletherapy, is affordable and accessible. Make this the year you conquer your addiction. Call today, 1-888-RECOVERY. That's 1-888-RECOVERY.
Before you drive the all-new Nissan Rogue, you gotta ask yourself, how rogue are you gonna go? We talking be one with nature in the desert rogue? Go snowshoeing in Alaska rogue? Or take the long way home just because kind of rogue? Just a question, but with 5 available drive modes, you're sure to find the answer.
Go rogue in the all-new, fiercely reimagined 2021 Nissan Rogue, now with the most standard safety features in its class. See Owner's Manual for important safety information. Auto Pacific segmentation. 2021 Nissan Rogue versus latest in market competitors. Base models compared.
This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Here's Josh Hennig.
Welcome back into Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN, 97.3 ESPN Mobile, and live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And as you see, joining us live in the virtual flesh, the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Brandon Scoopy Robinson, NBA insider, and of course, probably one of the best follows on all social media platforms you could ever find. Because if you don't follow him on Instagram and Twitter, you're not getting the full Scoopy experience. My friend, it's good to see you in the virtual flesh. How you doing?
Man, it's good. I need you to, when I make it, I want you to introduce my name like that because you make me feel all regal. It feels good to come on and spend time with you as always.
Well, listen, I am available for a finder's fee. You can throw me a little money on the side and I'll just start following you around and with a bullhorn introducing you. How about that?
Sources say that that can be done.
Okay. So we got a lot to get to, a short amount of time to get to it. And I got to start off with this. Never in my wildest expectations for this season did I expect the 76ers to be 14-6 to start the year. I thought they'd be good, but I didn't expect 14-6 because to me, I said 20 games. All right, I'll find out who they are. But at 14-6, I was not expecting this at all, my friend.
I was.
Why?
Because when you look at the 76ers, there are two things to me that stand out. Number one, Joel Embiid's been healthy, playing MVP caliber from the jump. And two, I think the difference maker has been Seth Curry. Despite having to be out a little bit for protocol testing and things of that sort, when he's played, he's been efficient. Has started all 12 or 13 of the games that he's played. I think his minutes were somewhere between 28.5 to 29.5. I haven't had my early afternoon coffee, but I do think that when you look at just the overall picture, like you look at the stat sheet from last night, not only was Seth Curry efficient, so was Shake Milton, and I feel like his efficiency with the Sixers is a carryover from the playoffs. When Brett Brown did shift Ben Simmons over to the 4 spot and Shake was at the 1. Now Seth is starting. You make that trade. I also think, and I don't want to sell him short, he had 3 points but 10 rebounds in the win against the Minnesota Timberwolves last night. Dwight Howard has been the equalizer, and that's sort of, in a lot of respects, I feel like Dwight Howard was the piece that they actually needed instead of Al Horford, and that's no disrespect to Al Horford at all. I think he's seeing seeing more clarity in greener pastures in Oklahoma, who are doing pretty well themselves. But I think the Sixers as a whole, I like their roster from top to bottom, and they're just adding on pieces to an already potent roster. So they're in first, Brooklyn is in second. And to be honest with you, I think it's just an early start, but they got to continue that after the All-Star break.
I'm glad you brought up Dwight because to me, he's been a revelation for a lot of people. I mean, this guy is telling Ben Simmons and other players, let's go out after the game and take shots after the game. He's sitting there with Joel Embiid for long extended periods, talking during practice and games. And I feel like, as you said, there's no offense to Al Horford, but think about this. This guy was a defensive player of the year. He was one of the best, if not the best player in the league at one point. He led the Magic team of Hedo Turkoglu and you and me to the NBA Finals. Like, this is a guy who's been there and done that. For him to walk into that locker room with all of the resume and now a championship ring alongside LeBron James, I feel like the players look at him in a different way than Al Horford.
Well, first off, let's not leave out Chester native Jameer Nelson, the St. Joe's University legend, now with the Sixers organization in some capacity. And also, Rayford Austin, that's a team that did go to the NBA Finals. Understand Van Gundy. But what I'll say to your point, which I think is a very poignant perspective, is so a couple days ago before the Lakers-Sixers game, spoke with the Lakers coaching staff, and Frank Vogel was vocal about essentially what Dwight brought to that team, veteran leadership. And one of the things that he said was, Dwight came to us, meaning the Lakers, at a point where he needed that support, and the Lakers were a place he went when nobody else wanted him. And, won a championship ring out of it. I think if Dwight wasn't already a Hall of Famer, which I think he was, he definitely he cemented that in that Lakers championship last year. And one of the things Frank Vogel said is even in times when he didn't play in the playoffs out in the bubble, he still was a resource for that Lakers team. And I believe he's a resource in that regard for Philadelphia. I can tell you that, free agency time, Dwight wanted a big payday from Los Angeles, and in the 25th hour, that didn't happen. But Joel Embiid was on that phone, which was making that happen. And I think it's funny because I remember when Dwight was on Instagram Live in the bubble and said, I wanted to choke Joel Embiid. And, I thought it was funny. But at the same time, I've never heard Al Horford say, I want to choke Joel Embiid. And we thought Al Horford was going to be the Joel Embiid whisperer. And in fact, Dwight Howard has done that. And I'll use this example. The Nets' first year in Brooklyn, you had Brook Lopez, and you had their center, Reggie Evans. And Reggie was pushing Brook Lopez very hard in practice. And that year, Brook was an all-star. And I feel that there's a big comparison between Brook Lopez and Joel Embiid. I don't want to sell either player short, but I believe that practice partner that Dwight Howard is for Joel Embiid is comparative to that analogy. And I remember Reggie saying, man, Brook just needed to be pushed a little bit more. And I feel like in Brook's leaving Brooklyn, he actually developed more of an outside shot. And he's an excellent asset when he went to the Lakers and when he went to now the Milwaukee Bucks. But when I look at Joel Embiid, I look at Dwight Howard in that same asset vein in comparison to Reggie Evans. I just think that championship experience, he has what Joel Embiid wants. And I think that the Sixers, are a valiant opponent in the Eastern Conference to the Brooklyns, the Milwaukees, and the Eastern Conference champions, the Miami Heat as well. So it's cool to see Philly do well. I want to see them continue that. And the East isn't a chump conference. It's not just the West running things. The East has some good opponents as well.
Brandon Scoop B. Robinson, NBA insider, joining us here on the Boardwalk Kind of Hotline on 97.3 ESPN. Follow him at Scoop B on Twitter and Instagram for the full Scoop B NBA coverage experience. Joining us here on 97.3 ESPN. Let's get into those Nets, because I remember you told me months ago that James Harden was going to be a Net. And I feel like as time went on, and this is just my opinion, I don't have any evidence of this, so this is just my opinion. I think that the Rockets used the Sixers to elevate the trade package, because basically the Rockets robbed the Nets blind in terms of their future for the present, in my opinion. And I think that the whole thing with the Sixers, the Sixers are close, Ben Simmons, blah, blah, blah. I felt like the Nets and the Rockets were going to happen all along, and the Sixers were just used to escalate the price.
Well, I can tell you that there were real conversations that Philadelphia and Houston were having. I remember I tweeted December 17th to 2020 about, Tyrese Maxey, Ben Simmons, Matisse Thybulle. Those were conversations that the Sixers were having with Houston, and it was a ping pong back and forth. But, the funny thing is the James Harden conversations really began in like November. The Boston Celtics were players. The Toronto Raptors were looking. The Boston Celtics definitely were looking, and the Denver Nuggets, the Raptors, the Nets, the Miami Heat. There were just a lot of teams involved, but the assets that the Nets had in Jared Allen and Taurean Prince, as well as multiple draft picks, were attractive only because the Nets were able to get a third team involved, which was the Cleveland Cavaliers. But what I'll tell you is James Harden and Kevin Durant had regrets about not winning it all in 2012 when they were both members of the Oklahoma City Thunder alongside teammate Russell Westbrook. They were young and they achieved a mighty amount of success pretty early in their career, and Miami was just a better team. And so to kind of come out and do that again or fix that situation in an Eastern Conference is pretty cool. James Harden and Houston was kind of just over the years. Houston just began to deteriorate, and it started really when they got rid of Melo, when they traded Chris Paul for Russell Westbrook, and then also Mike D'Antoni's coaching staff. He was stripped of his coaching staff, and one of the guys that was an assistant coach with that staff was actually a friend and trainer of James Harden, and he was let go. So, over the years, Houston has just deteriorated, and a lot of it had to do with the relationship or lack thereof with owner Tillman Fertitta and, some of his political views and more. So, over the years, things just began to deteriorate. And, James Harden and Kyrie Irving have always been, friendly and good friends at large. Kyrie and James Harden were teammates in USA Basketball. Kevin and Kyrie, I can tell you just that whole Nets process was something that began 2019 All-Star Weekend at a Jordan party. And I was with them, and, they were laughing and joking the whole night, and they spent that whole weekend together. You saw some public video of them in the tunnels and things of that sort, but, they were a package deal. So, here we are now, but the Nets still lack a big man. They brought in Norvell Pele. Andre Drummond is someone who's rumored to join Brooklyn, as well as Kevin Love. So there's a lot of moving pieces there, but I think they are a worthy opponent with the Sixers and vice versa. So we'll see what happens.
I think for a lot of people who look at the Nets, there's two conversations, at least in this area, that go on. The one conversation I'll start with the Nets specifically, because you are as in tune and in touch with the situation as anybody, if not more than anybody on planet Earth.
Right.
A lot of people say Kyrie Irving. If Kyrie Irving is there, this team can go all the way. If Kyrie Irving, maybe as they call it, mentally isn't there, they can't go all the way. And my big curiosity with Kyrie, and I don't say this to be mean to Kyrie, but I'm asking you as somebody who knows way better than I do. To me, I look at Durant. He loves basketball. James Harden, he's a gamer. He showed up for every game, healthy or not. People don't realize how many times he played hurt down in Houston. Kyrie, I don't know if he loves basketball. I feel like he has so much more going on in his heart and his mind and his life than basketball. And I just have to wonder sometimes, does Kyrie really love basketball?
He loves basketball. I mean, this is a guy who people don't give it enough notice, but is a second generation basketball player. Just like Steph Curry, just like Klay Thompson, just like Kobe Bryant. Kobe's uncle, as well as his father, played in the NBA. But I think what's different with Kyrie is that he is both socially conscious and I think culturally, some people in the media can't place him. And place him in a sense of people look at how he was raised. His dad, Gregorius Irving, he didn't play in the NBA, but he played overseas. That's why Kyrie was born in Australia. I think when you look at Kyrie and you look at socioeconomic status, people say, well, he's not a inner city kid. He's a suburban kid, but he's got a street game. But then the way that he answers things seems very stoic, very anti whatever. And I think because you can't place him and because a lot of media people and fans don't know him, he allows, because people don't know him, it allows people to draw conclusions and fill in blanks and check boxes. Kai loves basketball, but I also think he's always felt that life was bigger than just basketball and that entertainment, it's an entertainment force. But I think a lot of the things that are going on in this world, whether it was the political side of it, the Capitol insurrection that happened, it's crazy to say, earlier this month, and some of the other things that are going on, I think there's so much there. I think many people are not used to seeing an athlete be as vocal as he's been. You haven't seen that since the 60s with Bill Russell and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But I also think that with that being said, the optics of it aren't always level-headed. And so when you hear terms like pawns, a lot of colleagues of mine, the whole pawns comment, they took offense to that. So when the thing came out about him at that party, which really was 15 or less at that party, I'm told. I know where the party was. The Nets were aware of that party. The whole conversation about him not playing gets mixed. There's a lot of people in media who don't like him. There's a lot of fans that don't like him. So when you don't know him, when you see the optics of that party, when you hear politics, it's like, okay, where do you stand on this issue? And I just think that the only thing that Kyrie can legitimately do is win. And when you win, you shut people up. I look at Tom Brady, and when all of that Deflategate stuff happened, the Patriots continue to win, and people forget about it for some time. They don't totally forget, but I just think winning always cures everything. So I think for Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets, if they win, they're in second place. They're playing very well. Man, I think the sky's the limit for them. I just think that they're still figuring things out. There's a gelling period. And I think that defensively is their weakness. But I also think that they lack a big man because they traded Jared Allen to get James Harden. But I think, they have a $5.7 million exception that they're going to utilize to bring in some people. But it's a process. And so I think for Kyrie, the winning part. I also think that whenever you play for a coach that played the same position that you played, you clash, and you're still figuring a lot of things out. And I mean that is Steve Nash. I think that Kyrie and Steve Nash went through a filling out period. It's one thing to hire him as a head coach. It's another thing to play under him. And Steve Nash is also a rookie head coach. So there's a lot of moving parts there. But I think winning will make everybody kind of get amnesia for a little while.
NBA insider Brandon Scoopy Robinson joining us here on the Boardwalk kind of hotline on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget, Sixers back in action tomorrow versus the Pacers right here on 97.3 ESPN. Now, I said there's another side to this conversation that goes with the Sixers. There's a perception, doesn't mean it's true, but a perception that the Sixers are really good, but the Sixers can't win with Ben Simmons in the playoffs. And we know there's a lot of Sixer fans. They hate Ben Simmons. They can't stand the fact he doesn't shoot threes, blah, blah, blah. They don't value him as a basketball player. Do you think that the Sixers can win a championship with Ben Simmons?
Yeah, I think they can. And I think that one of the things that stands out to me is the fact that, Daryl Morey as well as Elton Brand stayed true to not trading that core of Simmons and Embiid, in spite of the fact that there were teams inquiring, Minnesota, the Golden State Warriors, the Toronto Raptors. There were a lot of chatter going on draft time. And so with that being said, when I look at Ben Simmons and the fact that he's been able to stay with that team alongside, Joel Embiid, I think it's just a matter of, I think it's the same issue that Brooklyn has. They're gelling and figuring it out. And so when you say Ben Simmons can't help the Sixers win a championship or can't get through the playoffs, that's old Sixers. This is new Sixers. And I think when you look at even the fact that the Sixers 2 seasons ago against a Toronto Raptors team went as far as they did. I mean, the Sixers almost went to the finals a couple years ago. If they didn't lose to Toronto, they'd be in the finals and would have played Golden State. And really and truly, possibly could be a chance right now. If they had still played a hobbled Golden State Warriors team, that matchup, with Jimmy Butler and Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, it was a formidable, a favorable matchup, I'll say. So, 2 seasons later, when you look at the 76ers and what they bring to the table, I don't think you have to depend on, I think the roster that the Sixers have, you don't have to, Ben Simmons does not have to score 30 or 40 points, total 10 rebounds and 11 assists every night. I think, what did he have, 11 points last night in the game against the Minnesota Timberwolves? At the end of the day, you still have other people who pick up the slack. You have Seth Curry. You have Shake Milton, who scored 13 points last night. Joel Embiid, they're depending heavily on him. You have Seth Curry. You have a team. You had Tobias Harris. I believe Tobias had about, 17 last night in the game? Mind you, Tobias Harris hit that game winner against the Lakers the night before. I think what you're seeing is you're not just having to depend on Ben and Joel Embiid every night. You have other people who can step up. Okay, Danny Green missed that shot against the airball, that shot against the Lakers the other night. He's got championship experience. I think when it counts, he'll do what he has to do. But in the meantime, daggone it, you still have a big three. You have the luxury of a big three in Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, and Ben Simmons. And then off the bench, you have, as you mentioned before, Mr. Hennig, Dwight Howard coming off the bench. That's a luxury to have. The crazy thing is this. When you look at that Sixers team, man, their second unit could go toe-to-toe with other teams, your favorite team's first unit. So I think it's a good problem to have, and I think we're still in this filling out phase amid COVID, amid political issues, amid just 72 games. Like, it's still a filling out process with no training camp. I think that's the other part that's not talked about a lot. No training camp for the rookies. There's been no summer league. Like, guys are having to learn a lot on the fly, and I got to commend the Sixers, the Nets, the Lakers, everybody in between. All the other teams I didn't mention for kind of just finding a way to let it fly. It's not easy.
No, it's not. But and listen, I've been saying for weeks now, all these people, all the offseason, it was Tobias Harris is overpaid, blah, blah, blah. The dude's having the most efficient year of his entire career. People are holding the first 2 games of the season like it was the entire season against him. They don't win that Lakers game without him saying, give me the ball and get out of my way. Alex Caruso, go home. I'm taking this shot. That's Tobias. That wasn't fill in the blank player. So listen, Tobias Harris to me is a bona fide leader of this team. He is a bona fide star in this league, and he's earning every ounce of that money. Listen, you know who went for that dunk last night on the T-Wolves when he said, get out of my way? It was Tobias Harris. It wasn't fill in the blank. Everybody loves Tyrese Maxey in this town, and I do too. People are happy with Shake Milton, and I'm happy too. And people love Doc Rivers, and I do too. But Tobias, people got to give him a little respect.
Yeah, I like Doc Rivers as well. And I think that when you look at this season, you asked me about Ben Simmons. I think he and Doc both have something to prove this year. When you look at, as well as Joel, number one, I think the advantage that Tobias Harris has is the fact that, number one, he's got his fellow Long Island buddy, Danny Green, on the team. They go way back. Number two, I think Doc Rivers and Tobias Harris having the relationship that they have going back to the Clippers days, I think it's carrying over because I think Doc Rivers' system benefits forwards, and it benefits big men and swing forwards and 2-guard, 3-guard combos. I also think that when you look at what Tobias Harris brings to the table, I mean, a few years ago, the Sixers pretty much had to choose between re-signing J.J. Redick or re-signing Jimmy Butler. They chose Tobias Harris, and people scratched their heads. Now it makes sense in this particular offense. I'll also add that when I talk about Doc Rivers having something to prove, that Clipper situation was a disaster last year, and you'd think that Joel and Ben would have strong personalities and it would work. I don't follow these guys 24/7, but I think from everything that I've heard, it's been a smooth transition, and it's paying dividends in what they were able to do early in the season. But I think Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, Doc Rivers, all of those guys can right this ship. Just like I said about Kyrie Irving, if you win, winning shuts everybody up, and hopefully you can have that parade on Broad and Passyunk or at City Hall. But I do think when I look at that Lakers-Sixers matchup, it feels like an NBA Finals matchup. It felt like an NBA Finals matchup last year on January 25th. But I just think that the Sixers were missing some pieces. I think that Joel Embiid, Al Horford combo didn't work out. And I think it didn't work out because Al Horford gave up points to his opponent defensively. But I also think the Dwight Howard situation was a better fit. And I just think Philly, and I think Dwight Howard has a lot to prove still. The fact that he was passed up, they didn't want to sign him. They went for Montrezl Harrell instead of him. I think that Philly, they got a bunch of guys that have something to prove. Like Seth Curry wants a ring just like his brother Steph. I think when you look at you want to see Elton Brand, a guy who got who was a fan, who everybody is not a fan of Elton, but the thing is, Elton was doing well prior to the Jimmy Butler situation. Like the Jimmy Butler situation, to me, when he left, people scratched their heads, and he, as an executive, he did what he had to do to bring in Al Horford. But I think he brought in he guided that team in a situation post that whole Twitter thing with Colangelo. Like, I think he doesn't get enough credit for that. And I think people, forget sometimes that he's around and, give a lot of credit to Daryl Morey. I've spoken to Daryl, in different parts, since his new role. And he seems like a nice guy. But, I think Elton, post Hinkie, post Colangelo, I think guided that team. So I think if the Sixers are able to, pull off and win a championship, man, I think it's great. I'll never forget last season. I don't want to ramble, but I remember last season and being at a Sixers game and asking Elton about just the goal of winning a championship. And he said, throughout his career, transitioning from player to coach or player to front office person, the goal is to the fans. And if the fans aren't happy, then what do you have? And I want to bring a championship to Philadelphia. He said that to me last year. And I think that behind the scenes, he's doing what he needs to do. I think Morey's doing what he needs to do. And I think that's why they didn't trade Ben Simmons, because they see value in him. And, hopefully they can win a championship.
He's NBA insider Brandon Scoop B Robinson. Follow him on Twitter at Scoop B for all your NBA insight analysis. Also, make sure you follow him on Twitter and Instagram for the full Scoop B experience. And, of course, as all guests, he appeared on the Boardwalk Kind of Hotline. Before I let you go, I'm on the record by saying this. Tekken is better than Mortal Kombat.
I see you've been looking at my tweets.
I do. Well, I follow you. I actually do follow you. I actually see what's going on. I'm just letting you know. Tekken 6 is the greatest fighting game ever made, and I will argue that to the day I die.
I'm more of a Street Fighter guy growing up, but Mortal Kombat is not bad. Tekken is not bad. I'll tell you, I used to play Shenmue on PlayStation. That was a very underrated game too, but Tekken isn't a bad game.
My only problem with Shenmue was that the fighting engine was stiff at times.
Yeah, it was.
It felt like if you didn't hit the button fast enough, you were just going to get knocked out. So you had to almost predict what was going to happen. I prefer Tekken's fight engine. I feel like it's more realistic, because of my own background in martial arts. That's kind of how I'm judging it. So
when I make it, I need a bodyguard. You can be my hype man. You can be my bodyguard. You do it all, man. But more than anything else, you are the man at 97.3. Don't let anybody tell you anything different.
Now I think I need to hire you as my hype man. I think I think that's what's going on here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Make sure you follow on Twitter at Scoop B and Instagram. My friend, I appreciate you jumping on. Have a great day. Enjoy your weekend and stay blessed.
You know what I'm going to say? Thank you for the opportunity to be myself.
Absolutely. Anytime. Yes, joining us here on the Boardwalk Kind of Hotline on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig here hanging out with you. We got one more segment to go in the show. And, of course, don't forget my FanDuel Sportsbook pick of the day coming up here on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City and live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Tonight on the NBA on ESPN Radio.
Here's James puts it off the window and gets it himself.
LeBron and the Lakers head to Boston to face Jason Tatum and the Celtics.
It doesn't matter any given year whether the team is good or bad. You're up for this game. It's just something about this game every year.
It's the NBA on 97.3 ESPN, your exclusive home for the NBA Finals. Coverage begins after the Flyers host the New York Islanders.
Kendall Auto Plaza offers the area's best car and truck buying experience with 60 years of customer satisfaction and community service. What's on their 100-acre lot? A huge inventory of Ford, Lincoln, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Chrysler, and over 100 quality and certified pre-owned vehicles. Whether you use your car, truck, or SUV for work or play, discover why Kendall customers are so loyal. Kendall Auto Plaza, exit 10 of the Parkway on Stone Harbor Boulevard, or shop from home at KendallAutoplaza.com.
If you own a small business, you know how hard it can be to find new customers. But maybe you're unaware of new tools that can help your business stand out. Go to GetLocalCustomersNow.com for a free market competitive analysis that will show you what other businesses are doing to find new customers and how you can do it too. There's no cost and no obligation. Be one of the first business owners to sign up and receive $500 in free advertising on this station. Get started today. Visit GetLocalCustomersNow.com. That's GetLocalCustomersNow.com.
You heard that safe drivers get rewarded with Snapshot from Progressive, so you went online to check it out. But then you saw an ad for a vintage baseball cap, and now you find yourself checking the stats of that team's second baseman in '97, wondering why his stolen base total dropped after his rookie season. Wonder how much his rookie card is worth. Yes, they said it was easy to save money with Snapshot from Progressive, but they forgot about the rest of the internet. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California, North Carolina, or from all agents.
The COVID-19 vaccine distribution has started, which is why I'm hopeful that a stronger, healthier future is in sight. But we're not there yet. We have to stop the virus from spreading. Take it from me, Dr. Kemi Ali from Henry J. Austin Health Center. Even though it's 2021, my fellow doctors, nurses, EMTs, and all healthcare workers around New Jersey are still fighting this virus on the front lines day and night. And we need you to keep fighting with us. Even though some people have been vaccinated, we all need to keep wearing face masks. Stay safe by staying socially distanced, and go get tested even if you don't have symptoms. Because we all have a role to play in stopping the spread of this virus. So let's do it for each other, New Jersey. Let's do it for us all. Please visit covid19.nj.gov for more information.
Hindsight is 2020. 2020 was a brutal year with a lot we couldn't control. Pandemic, economy, unemployment. What can we control? Our job, our career. Don't look back with 2020 hindsight next year and see yourself in that 2020 job. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. You could start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. Live online classes meet just twice a week. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Here's Josh Hennig.
Final segment of the show here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you. You can follow me on Twitter at Josh Hennig. Hennig spelled Hennig. Yes, you want to know that spelling on my last name, because I want to tell you, my friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook, before we get to your thoughts and comments on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, watching the show, and of course 609-403-0973. You can celebrate the 55th edition of the big game with exclusive 55-1 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. If you've never tried FanDuel Sportsbook before, new users can bet on either the Chiefs or the Bucks. $5 to win $275. That's right, 55-1 odds. But you got to use my promo code Hennig, Hennig, when you sign up with FanDuel Sportsbook. And I've been betting on FanDuel all football season, college football, NFL. I've been giving you picks every single day, every week on game night. FanDuel Sportsbook is incredible with their odds boosts, player props, and don't forget about the same game parlays exclusive to FanDuel Sportsbook. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app now. Use my promo code Hennig to sign up to get 55-1 odds on the Super Bowl. That's promo code Hennig on FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or to play. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be present in NJ or PA. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. I'll get you my picks for the day in just a moment. No UFC fights today. They're back next week. So I don't got any fight picks for you this week. I have no dog in the boxing tonight. I'll just be consuming as a regular fan. I have no picks or anything going on there. Get a couple comments over here on Facebook. A couple people want to talk about the Sixers over here. Chris Dunn follows up and says, if you get rid of all the COVID stuff, the Sixers record is even better. We got to see Maxey, so maybe it's a blessing in disguise. The thing with the COVID, the protocols and the contact tracing and only one guy testing positive, it's really messing with a lot of teams. Like, you look at a lot of team records around the NBA, a lot of these teams would have better records just if they weren't, if they didn't have, so look at all the games that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George have missed because of the protocols, the games that Tobias Harris missed, the games that a lot of players are missing around the league because of these protocols. And it's not even because they tested positive. It's because they were just near somebody. And you have to be X number of days out of contact with anybody else. The NBA is trying so hard to keep this season on track that they're literally taking stars off the court because they don't want to make sure that anyone else tests positive. They're just going to an extreme. So maybe you are right, Chris Dunn. Maybe that the Sixers record would be better, but being 14-6 in 20 games is definitely above my expectations. I thought this team's ceiling was maybe a 3 seed or a 2 seed. I didn't expect them to be number 1 in the East after the first 20 games. Let's get another comment here on Facebook. Again, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. All the 97.3 ESPN local shows, the Sports Bash with Mike Gill and Hunter Brody, myself, Game Night with Josh Hennig, Monday through Friday, Saturdays with Billy Schweim in the locker room, as well as myself on Sports Bash Saturday. We are all live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Surf chimes in and says, Embiid has to stay healthy or we are doomed, he says. I just want to know, is that Doom like the video game or Doom like Dr. Doom? Anyway, never mind. You're right. Embiid needs to stay healthy. You know, Embiid is an MVP candidate. He is the reason why this team is winning. They're 0-4 without him this year. Think about that. This team is 14-6, but they're 0-4 without Embiid. They only have 2 losses with Embiid. That's just mind-boggling. That's incredible. Get one more comment in here on the YouTube stream. Steve Garrison followed up from earlier about the Phillies. Says, also another thing, the Phillies need another starter. Options like Paxton, I think, would be awesome. Bullpen, I go with Alex Colome. Here's the problem with Paxton. I think his injury situation might have taken a lot more out of him than we realized. I'm not 100% sure how healthy he is. I don't know if he still has the juice in the arm after all the injuries. I liked him a couple of years ago when the Yankees traded for him, but I don't know if he still got it. I just don't. All right. FanDuel Sportsbook pick of the day. What do we got here? Well, I am going to go back to the over-under well because I think it served me pretty well so far. Think about this. I know one team can't play defense, and that team is the Pelicans. They got a lot of scores, but they don't got a lot of defense. The over-under on this game is currently 22.5 at FanDuel Sportsbook. I'll go with the over. Rockets Pelicans over 22.5. I expect it to be a high-scoring game in that matchup between two teams with young rosters, not a lot of defense. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks, Kevin Durso, our Flyers Insider, for joining the show, as well as NBA Insider Brandon Scoopy Robinson. I'm Josh Hennig, signing off. Have a great weekend, and I'll catch you on Monday.
Coming up on the next edition of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Hey, coming up on Monday, Super Bowl week begins, plus a busy weekend for the Sixers and the Flyers. We'll go inside the Sixers with Paul Hudrick at 3:20. Football at 4 with Jeff Mosher, former Seahawks linebacker Lopo DeTupo at 5 o'clock. And you can watch the show live on our website, 973ESPN.com.
The Sports Bash, weekdays from 2 to 6 on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Weightlifters and fitness enthusiasts, you got to check out weightliftinghq.com. They are a local company right here in South Jersey that operates fully online and caters to weightlifters and fitness enthusiasts interested in working out from home. They offer high-end weightlifting and fitness equipment available to be delivered right to your home. Check them out online at weightliftinghq.com and use the code RADIO10 at checkout for 10% off your entire order. That's code RADIO10 at weightliftinghq.com.
There are a lot of car dealer ads that boast about deals that sound too good to be true. You know those ads, the ones that promise higher trade values and discounts with a disclaimer. The truth is you can get a good deal anywhere, but isn't it about time you deal with a dealer that gives you a no-nonsense deal at the best price? At Gentilini Motors, we've built a reputation for taking care of our community and treating customers like family for 65 years, because treating the customer right always ensures the best deal. I'm Paul Gentilini, and I assure you, no other dealer in South Jersey beats our deals. Give us a call at 609-861-9000. Visit us online at GentiliniChevrolet.com or stop by today to find new roads in a Chevy and experience the Gentilini difference for yourself at 500 John S. Penn Boulevard, next to the airport in Woodbine, New Jersey. We're just a short drive from anywhere.
Just a short drive from anywhere. Gentilini Family Motors.
The radio home of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, 97.3 ESPN,